Dr. Joseph Gallenberger's journey into psychokinesis, PK, began at the Monroe Institute, where he first experienced the phenomenon during dice games. As a clinical psychologist, he needed scientific validation before fully accepting his abilities as real. His search led him to Princeton University's prestigious PEER, Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research Laboratory, which studied PK under rigorous scientific conditions using quantum mechanical random event generators. There, Gallenberger achieved remarkable results. In one experiment, he mentally coaxed a cat image out of random computer static with odds of 30,000 to 1 against chance. In another, he used intention alone to raise and lower a water column behind glass. After nearly 30 years of operation, the PEER lab closed, its researchers confident they had scientifically proven PK's existence. Gallenberger further deepened his conviction by meeting Dean Radin at the University of Nevada, whose independent research consistently confirmed these anomalous findings, demonstrating that psi phenomena were grounded in sophisticated science rather than wishful thinking. Recognizing that formal lab practice was impractical for ongoing skill development, Gallenberger sought a more accessible testing environment with verifiable random outcomes. He found it in Las Vegas casino craps tables, where the statistical probabilities of dice rolling are precisely understood, offering instant and objective feedback. Rather than approaching the casino with stress or greed, he reframed it as a joyful laboratory. He played with a childlike spirit, an open heart, and a focus on loving, positive energy, deliberately setting his ego aside. Through this practice, he discovered that PK and manifestation flow most powerfully not through force or ambition, but through genuine joy, trust, and deep appreciation for life. His casino experiments ultimately confirmed what the lab data had suggested. Human consciousness can influence physical reality, most effectively when fueled by love and playfulness.
Imagine you are standing right in the middle of a Las Vegas casino.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you know the vibe. Bells are ringing, neon lights are just flashing right in your eyes. There's that faint smell of stale smoke and spilled drinks.
It's just absolute chaos.
Exactly. Absolute chaos everywhere you look. And honestly, it is probably the absolute last place on earth you'd look for spiritual enlightenment.
Oh, totally.
But what if, and just stay with me here, what if that chaotic, overwhelming room is actually the ultimate laboratory for testing the physical power of human consciousness and unconditional love?
It's a completely counterintuitive premise, isn't it?
It really is.
I mean, when we usually think about consciousness expansion or spiritual growth, we picture like a silent monastery,
Right,
or a meditation retreat, maybe a quiet walk deep in the woods. We definitely do not picture a smoky room packed with slot machines.
Right, because usually when we talk about navigating everyday life, there's this underlying assumption that we are, basically just passengers on a very chaotic bus.
Yeah.
You set your goals, you go to work, you try to do the right things, but ultimately the flat tires, the sudden traffic jams, the unexpected windfalls, they are basically just random events happening to you. You're just reacting to the road.
Right, it's a very rigid, kind of Newtonian way of viewing existence. The universe is just this giant cold machine, and we are all just tiny cogs hoping we don't get ground up in the gears.
Which is pretty bleak.
It is. It's an isolating and, frankly, disempowering perspective. But the source material we are diving into today challenges you to move entirely beyond that idea of passive observation. It asks you to step into the role of an active, conscious participant in reality.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we are pulling from a truly fascinating framework today. It is from a book called Inner Vegas by Dr. Joe Gallenberger, and the subtitle is The Power of Love, Consciousness, and Psychokinesis.
Quite a mix.
Yeah, the juxtaposition here is just wild. Taking the flashing lights of Vegas to understand the mechanics of love. I mean, on the surface, it sounds like mixing oil and water.
It really does. But my goal today is to synthesize exactly how and why this bizarre combination actually makes perfect mechanical sense. And more importantly, we need to explore how this applies to your everyday life, far beyond the borders of the casino floor.
Absolutely. And to really grasp the mechanics of this philosophy, we kind of have to start with a story. There's this statistical anomaly in the text that perfectly illustrates the central argument.
Yes.
The idea that the human heart is actually stronger and more creatively powerful than a rigid, calculating intellect.
Right. This is the story of Dr. Gallenberger's own trip to Vegas, which really serves as the foundational pillar for the entire framework.
Yeah.
So he had just finished teaching a seminar, and he decided to take some quiet time for himself at a video poker machine.
Wait, so he is at a video poker machine. Out of all the things he could try to do in Vegas to prove a point about consciousness, what exactly is he trying to achieve right there?
Well, he sets one very specific, very difficult intention. He wants to hit a royal flush in hearts.
Okay, just to play devil's advocate here, is that actually hard to do?
Oh, we have to look at the mathematical reality of that intention. A royal flush, the ace, king, queen, jack, and 10 of the same suit, is incredibly rare.
Right, okay.
Statistically speaking, in video poker, hitting a specific royal flush happens about once in every 160,000 hands.
Wow.
Yeah, the odds are just astronomically against him.
And the choice of the suit of hearts isn't just a random preference, is it?
Not at all. For him, the heart suit is a direct physical symbol of unconditional love. So his goal isn't really about making a quick buck.
Yeah.
He's actively trying to manifest a physical representation of love on that screen to test its infinite creative power. So he sits down, he focuses his mind. He is dialing in his concentration to project this intention.
I can picture it.
Right. And just as he gets into the zone, the exact thing you would expect to happen in a busy public place happens.
He gets distracted.
Yeah, a group of his students unexpectedly finds him and walks right up to his machine.
Oh, that is the worst. We have all been there. You are trying to focus on a complex spreadsheet or you are deep into a good book and someone just bursts into the room and breaks your concentration.
Exactly.
In that moment, the text outlines that he essentially had 3 choices for how to react.
Correct. Choice 1, he could reject them, shoo them away, and rigidly protect his solitude and his focus.
Makes sense.
Choice 2, he could tolerate them politely on the outside while secretly seething and feeling annoyed on the inside.
Which is what most of us do.
Oh, definitely. But choice 3 is where the framework comes in. He could genuinely, authentically open his heart, let go of his intense mental focus, and warmly welcome them into his space.
And that internal pivot is the whole ballgame right there. He consciously chooses that third option. He doesn't just put on a fake smile, he genuinely shifts his energetic state to embrace the reality of the moment with appreciation and warmth.
Yes.
So what happens?
He welcomes them, he stays in that state of open-hearted warmth, and literally 2 hands later, the royal flush in hearts appears on the screen.
You are kidding.
His $5 bet instantly pays out over $4,000.
Wow. 2 hands.
What's fascinating here is the causality. From the author's perspective, this was not a stroke of blind luck.
Okay.
The universe did not reward his intense, rigid mental concentration. In fact, if he had stayed rigidly focused and gotten angry at the interruption, he believes he would have blocked the outcome.
Really?
Yeah. Reality rewarded his willingness to choose love and connection over irritation. It demonstrated that an open heart has more influence over physical reality than strict mental control.
It makes me think of an analogy. Like if you are driving to work right now and you suddenly hit dead stop traffic, rigid mental focus is like white-knuckling the steering wheel. You're gripping it, your jaw is clenched, you are staring daggers at the bumper in front of you, forcefully willing the cars to move.
Right, trying to force it.
Exactly. You are burning so much internal energy, but you aren't going anywhere. An open heart in this context is like taking a deep breath, loosening your grip, putting on a great song, and just seamlessly merging into the flow of the cars. You are still driving, you still have an intention to get home, but the internal resistance is gone. You have aligned with the flow rather than fighting it.
That is a perfect visualization of the energetic shift he is describing. The intellect tries to force reality to bend to its will. The heart invites reality to align.
Yeah.
The central thesis we are exploring today is that the heart is simply a vastly more powerful engine for creation than the brain.
But wait, if you are listening to this, you might be shouting at your own steering wheel right now, asking a very fair question.
Which is?
If this is all about unconditional love and the power of the heart, why on earth are we talking about gambling? Isn't there a huge danger here that we are just dressing up a casino addiction as some sort of high-minded spiritual growth?
That is a completely valid pushback, and it raises an important question. The author is very careful to address this up front.
Okay.
The book is definitively not about gambling as a lifestyle, and it certainly isn't promoting casinos as a goal. The casino is utilized for one very specific, highly practical reason. The mechanics of immediate feedback.
Ah, okay. Because in normal life, feedback is painfully slow.
Exactly. Think about how we normally try to manifest or create changes in our lives. If you want to start a new business, you might set your intentions, do the work, and put out positive energy.
Right.
But the actual feedback, the confirmation on whether your internal state is truly aligning with your external reality, that might take months or even years to materialize.
Yeah, if you are working on healing a health issue or trying to improve a broken relationship, progress is incremental. There are so many external variables that get in the way over the course of a year, it is almost impossible to track exactly which thought or which emotion caused which physical result.
But step onto a casino floor and that entire timeline collapses. The feedback loop is reduced from months to mere seconds.
Oh, I see.
Every single roll of the dice at a craps table, every spin of a slot machine, every card dealt in a poker hand, it provides instant data.
So if you step up to a table feeling anxious, desperate, or fearful, the dice reflect that contracted state immediately. If you step up feeling expansive, joyful, and open-hearted, the cards reflect that immediately.
Precisely. The casino simply acts as an accelerated high-intensity training ground. It is a laboratory. It allows a practitioner to run hundreds of micro-experiments in a single afternoon.
That makes a lot of sense.
You can test your emotional state, adjust your intentions, monitor your confidence, and watch the physical reality respond in real time. By doing this in a concentrated environment, clear patterns begin to emerge. It proves to the individual that their consciousness is actively interacting with the environment. It is entirely about observing the mechanics of reality in a fast-paced setting, not about the money-changing hands.
So the casino is just the classroom, the game is just the chalkboard.
Exactly.
That makes sense. But if standard positive thinking is mostly just wishing for things and making vision boards, how does this framework actually force physical reality to respond? Because the self-help aisle is packed with books telling you to just smile more.
It differs significantly because it doesn't rely on intention alone. Wishing for something isn't enough. The author presents a three-part formula. Think of them as interlocking mechanical gears that are rarely integrated into standard positive thinking models. These three elements must work together sequentially to create a true manifestation event.
Okay, so what is the first gear in this sequence?
The first is psychokinesis, or PK. This is the foundational concept that human intention can directly influence physical systems.
Let me stop you right there, because when people hear psychokinesis, they instantly picture Jedi mind tricks, or someone staring at a spoon until it literally bends in half. Is that what we're talking about?
Well, it includes macro-level events like metal bending, yes, but for our purposes, it is much more subtle. We aren't just talking about a placebo effect within your own body. We are talking about your mind touching external matter.
Okay.
On a quantum mechanics level, it is about shifting probability fields. The source material points to laboratory examples of this, like human intention observably affecting the output of random number generators, or even accelerating the biological growth of seeds. It is the raw ability of the mind to interact with matter.
But raw PK is just the baseline. The second gear is enhanced energy, because having a clear intention to shift probability isn't going to do anything if there is no fuel in the tank to power it.
Exactly right. Intention needs emotional vitality behind it. Think of intention as the steering wheel, but enhanced energy as the engine. This means cultivating genuine enthusiasm, deep vitality, and what the author calls internal psychological coherence.
Let's break down internal psychological coherence for a second, because that sounds like a textbook term. To put it simply, is that when your conscious desire and your subconscious beliefs are finally rowing in the exact same direction, rather than fighting each other.
That is a great way to put it. Imagine you want a promotion at work. Consciously, you are intending to get it, but subconsciously, deep down, you suffer from imposter syndrome and believe you don't actually deserve it.
Right.
Your mind and your gut are at war. You lack coherence. If you have a strong conscious intention, but your underlying emotional energy is conflicted, fearful, or flat, the signal you are sending out into reality is incredibly weak.
Which brings us to the third gear, and according to the author, the absolute most vital element of the formula, the open heart.
Yes. This is where the entire model elevates. In this framework, love is not just a fleeting, warm emotion you feel when you see a romantic movie. Love is an actual, measurable, energetic state. It acts as an exponential multiplier. When your heart is truly open, it dramatically magnifies your creative influence over reality.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Let me ask you this. If the heart is the multiplier, can I just bypass the first two gears? If I just sit at a slot machine, clear my head, and really truly love the machine with all my heart, Is that enough?
No, they require absolute synergy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Let's use the analogy of a laser beam. Focused intention, that PK element, gives the laser its precise direction. Elevated energy gives the laser its brightness and raw power.
Okay, I follow.
But the open heart is the actual lens that focuses all that scattered, chaotic light into a coherent, reality-altering beam. Without the focused intention, the love is just a diffuse, pleasant feeling without any direction. Without the energy, the intention is weak. When you combine focused intention, elevated energy, and an open, loving heart, the mechanics of manifestation become dramatically effective.
And the text is quick to point out that this isn't just fluffy New Age philosophy. It actually aligns perfectly with both ancient mystical traditions and the cutting edge of modern physics.
It does. Ancient mystical traditions have taught for millennia that the observer and the observed are not separate, they are one. Now, modern quantum physics increasingly supports an observer-participant view of reality.
Which is fascinating.
It is. This is the scientifically backed idea that the very act of observation, the consciousness of the observer, literally alters the physical state of the particles being observed. We are constantly participating in the creation of physical reality, whether we realize it or not.
So if we take that logic, we have the three-part formula: intention, energy, and an open heart. But even if you align all three, the author points out a massive psychological hurdle you have to overcome. And it is the critical mechanical difference between believing something will happen and knowing it will happen.
This is perhaps the most crucial distinction in the entire book. Most people operate entirely in the realm of belief or hope. They read a book on manifestation and they say to themselves, I hope this works, or I believe positive thinking is real.
But those statements have an undercurrent of doubt baked right into them. If you say, I hope, you are fundamentally acknowledging the very real possibility of failure.
Precisely. According to Dr. Gallenberger, weak belief produces a weak energetic result. It creates a weak intention because the doubt disrupts your coherence. But strong knowledge, absolute, unshakable certainty, creates a vastly powerful intention. The text compares this to the famous biblical phrase, faith can move mountains.
Right.
The author evolves this idea by asking if mere faith, which still requires a leap across the unknown, can move a mountain. Well, imagine what direct personal knowing can achieve.
It is the exact difference between reading a physics textbook about gravity and actually dropping an apple from your hand.
Yeah.
When you let go of that apple, you don't believe it is going to fall to the floor. You don't hope it is going to hit the ground. You absolutely know it. Your body knows it. Your brain knows it. There is zero energetic resistance in your mind about what is going to happen next.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is exactly why those casino experiments we talked about earlier are so necessary. You cannot just read a book and suddenly possess that level of absolute knowing about the power of your own consciousness. Intellectual persuasion is never enough.
You need the proof.
Exactly. The central purpose of the Inner Vegas framework is to move the reader from fragile belief to direct certainty. By getting immediate second-by-second feedback in the casino over and over again, your brain stops hoping the concept works and starts recognizing the actual mechanism. The belief matures into experience, and the experience hardens into absolute knowing.
That makes total sense. You have to prove it to your own nervous system. But let's say you do the work. You use the fast feedback loops, you align your intention, your energy, and your heart, and you graduate from belief to knowing. What happens when you leave the neon lights behind and apply this knowing to real life? Because nobody just wants to be good at video poker.
That is where the source material gets truly remarkable. Dr. Gallenberger runs a program called Syncreation, and the book details the survey results from participants who took this exact framework and applied it to their daily lives out in the real world. Now keep in mind, these are participant reports, not controlled scientific trials, but the breadth of the outcomes they report is staggering.
The list in the source material is wild. We aren't just talking about magically finding a good parking spot at the grocery store. Under health, people reported things like healing their pets, helping their children recover from illnesses, dramatically reducing severe migraines, and even finding relief from chronic painful conditions like fibromyalgia.
It's incredible.
Some people reported total freedom from lifelong sleepwalking and even improved vision.
And in terms of professional success and abundance, they reported launching entirely new companies, securing better employment, executing highly successful negotiations, and literally receiving unexpected financial gifts and surprise checks in the mail.
Even their relationships transformed. The survey mentions new romantic partnerships, estranged family reunions, successful adoptions, and fascinatingly peaceful divorces.
Yes, the peaceful divorces one is so interesting.
I actually love that because it shows that manifestation isn't always about forcing people to stay together against their will. Sometimes the highest good is gracefully and lovingly uncoupling without all the usual destruction and resentment.
That is a profound point. It demonstrates that when the heart is open, the outcomes align with flow and harmony, which isn't always the rigid, specific picture the intellect originally painted. Participants also reported deep personal growth experiences of lucid dreaming, profound spiritual insights, and just a much greater baseline of everyday joy.
So, what does this all mean? We are talking about a lot of joy, a lot of success, a lot of physical and emotional healing, but I have to push back here because this can sound like a slippery slope. Well, the text mentions that Dr. Gallenberger himself suffered from severe depression in the past. If this framework says we are constantly creating our own reality, does that risk blaming people for their own suffering? Like if someone is severely depressed or physically sick, are we just telling them their intention isn't positive enough?
That is a deeply important question, and it is vital to how the author frames his entire body of work.
Mm,
Because he has lived through severe depression himself, his message is grounded in deep empathy. He does not present himself as a flawless, untouchable guru who has all the answers.
that's refreshing.
It is. He explicitly acknowledges that depression and anxiety are very real, very heavy states that severely weaken your awareness, your energy, and your intention.
Right. When you are deeply depressed, the engine doesn't just lack fuel, the whole thing feels completely broken.
Exactly. He is not advocating for toxic positivity. He isn't saying, just smile through the pain and your problems will vanish. He completely acknowledges that emotional suffering makes conscious creation incredibly difficult. His advice is a gradual, gentle cultivation of inner peace.
That's a much healthier approach.
Furthermore, he introduces a crucial concept to prevent that victim-blaming mentality, the ecosystem of consciousness. You are not a solitary god sitting alone on a mountain dictating every single atom of your life in a vacuum.
Creation is a dynamic, living, shared process.
Yes. Think of it like playing in a massive symphony orchestra. You aren't a solo artist playing in an empty room. Even if you are playing your specific instrument perfectly, with a beautifully open heart and clear intention, if the rest of the orchestra around you is playing a completely different song, the outcome is going to be a blended harmony of all those sounds, not just your solo.
That makes perfect sense.
Your intentions are constantly interacting with the intentions of countless other beings. So, experiencing hardship or illness is not a failure of your personal will. It is part of the complex dynamic interaction of the whole ecosystem.
And that shared ecosystem deeply informs how he defines true wealth, doesn't it? The text notes that someone once asked him directly, "Are you rich?" And his answer had almost nothing to do with his bank account.
His definition of wealth is beautiful. He considers himself rich because he has excellent health, a loving soulmate, 3 wonderful daughters, strong friendships, deep inner peace, and meaningful work.
Wow.
Yeah, true abundance in this framework is living a life filled with purpose and connection rather than just accumulating financial resources to protect yourself from the world.
It is about participating joyfully in the creation of your life rather than just hoarding the chips. So, to bring it all together for you listening, the core takeaway from Inner Vegas is that you are not a passive observer. You are not just a passenger gripping the steering wheel while life happens to you. By combining focused intention, elevated energy, and most importantly, an open and loving heart, you can actively participate in shaping your reality.
That's the key.
And sometimes you need immediate, fast-paced feedback loops, whether in a casino or somewhere else, to test these theories so you can train your nervous system to turn fragile hopes into solid, unshakable knowing.
And as you reflect on all of this, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We talked about that ecosystem of consciousness, the orchestra, where our intentions are always interacting with the intentions of others. So the next time you are trying to consciously create an outcome, ask yourself this: what happens when your direct, powerful knowing directly collides with the exact opposite knowing of the person sitting right next to you? How does the universe decide who wins the hand?
Ooh, that is a fantastic question to chew on. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this gave you some incredible tools and perspectives to think about. Now go unclench your jaw, let go of the steering wheel, and go test these ideas in your own laboratories of life. Catch you next time.